Welcome to Wednesday Comics.
Brought to you by rootsoftheswampthing.com and SuperCon 2018 Return of the Con.
Hey everyone, keep turning those pages.
Welcome to Wednesday Comics. To my right, we have the leader of the red badges himself, Alex. How you doing?
Hello everybody.
And across from me, the leader of the green badges, Garrett. How you doing?
I'm doing green.
And I am Marvin, the leader of the pink badges himself. We're here for Wednesday Comics podcast, talking about the books that came out for the week of 2019. We're going to review some of those, 6 of them. And we have a feature at the end that will be recommending some more books to keep you occupied while you're inside, because it's cold outside, baby. It's going to get cold this week. And before that, we have some news we like to touch on at the beginning of this show here. So it's pretty DC-centric. They announced 2 new books. A Lois Lane book that is going to be written by Greg Rucka.
Which is awesome.
They announced a Jimmy Olsen book that's going to be written by Matt Fraction. Now, I forgot who was going to be drawing those. Let me see if I can find that.
You know, the one thing with Greg Rucka picking up a book, great. But where have you been for the other books that you put out that we all wanted?
I know.
Because
I don't know what
Lazarus
that
was
guy's
supposed to
been
come out in
doing.
September 2018. It's almost been a year since that last issue came out.
I'm going to guess, though, Alex.
He's busy working on the show.
No. I'm going to guess, though, that since originally the reason why they're going to that format is because Michael Lark's taking a long time, that the reason why it's still not out is Michael Lark. So I don't think it's
need
Greg
to be
Rucka.
No, I'm not blaming Greg Rucka, but he is a part of that. He wrote the book. I'm glad he's not subbing somebody else in. Anyway, let's talk about Lois Lane.
Matt Fraction, Steve Lieber. Steve Lieber we know from
The
Fix. Be doing the Jimmy Olsen series, and Greg Rucka and Mike Perkins be doing the Lois Lane series.
Who's Perkins from?
I know I recognize his name, but I can't pull off the top of my head. But starting in June. So
Do you know how ecstatic I am about that? Like, Jimmy Olsen has had the worst thing ever happen to him in the last 5 to 10 years in the comic books. It's basically they've wrote him out of existence. So, I thought, we'd never get more than a panel with Jimmy ever again, and now we get an entire comic book. Super pumped about that, because I thought with the family dispute that there was a reason that Jimmy Olsen wasn't in the book as much, but not the case. They just didn't want to use Jimmy, I guess. And I'm like, Jimmy is such an essential character to the Superman mythos. It's that's so exciting. And then Lois Lane, she deserves her own book. She does so much shit on her own anyways, going after all these crazy stories that'll be fun to read, especially by Greg Rucka.
I think depending if someone else had that book, it may not be as great. Talking about the Lois Lane book, I think Greg Rucka would be, a great choice to be a writer for that book. The Jimmy Olsen one, Matt Fraction for me has been a hit or miss. Depends on what he's writing, on how not maybe weird isn't the right word, but how abstract the book can be. I would like to think if he's going to dial it down and kind of have a focused memoir, that's great. I'll probably give each issue, at least first issues, a shot, see if I like it. Most likely that Greg Rucka one I will stay on, though.
Are you going to get because they also announced that they're going to introduce both those books in May with the Leviathan Rising one-shot, number 1. So it's a $10 issue, but it is the first part of the Jimmy comic, the Lois comic. And
I think I just jumped into number 1.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll give
I made that mistake with Action Comics 1000. A lot of shit. Although they're good things, but
Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber seems like a good combination. Matt Fraction is a nice. He's very similar to Nick Spencer in that way. So, the humor for that book should be okay. A Jimmy Olsen book.
I just can't wait to see the first couple of pages and see what they if they tried to do a recap of his life.
And he's dead.
Well, and then there was this thing where Superman wore turtlenecks when he flew around, and then he hated Jimmy and didn't remember him, and then he came
all
back.
because of turtlenecks.
Yep.
Also, out of this week's Comics Pro retailer conference, DC announced a couple changes. One, they were going to reduce the line by 10 to 15%, which they've already been doing. Part of that was the New Age of Heroes books, but also they were getting rid of all of those Walmart collection books.
They're not doing the Walmart thing anymore?
No. What they're going to do instead is The Walmart longer arcs will be reprinted as graphic novels coming to comic stores later this year. Short stories will be reprinted in upcoming 100-page specials, so they're going to re-release them in comic book shops so you can get them if you want to. The Walmart line is ending, and it's going to be replaced with 100-page specials, so like the same type of format, but they're not Walmart exclusive anymore. They're going to be available everywhere. No prices given for those. They're looking to put those in places that are not just comic shops, so I would imagine Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, they're trying to expand it so that you can get those specials anywhere. And they want to reduce their collected editions. They didn't give any information besides saying that. I'm assuming, because I've been seeing these collections, which are like Justice League's best stories, and they're just like random issues. I would imagine they would get rid of those and just stick with like actual arcs and collect those. So,
well, I feel like they're not making a lot of money on those. Every Walmart I've been to, like I go check out, and they're fully stocked with all those.
I would
things.
imagine probably they were contracted to do a certain amount of them. They reached that instead of re-signing. They said, we'll just do this again, and then we'll make it available everywhere. And if Walmart wants to pick it up again, they can. So, like you said, instead of keeping it in one place. And that was part of their thing. They said they were canceling 10 to 15% of their titles, and they are looking to expand in other places besides comic book shops. So the 100-page specials will do that, and they're looking for their DC Inc. and what was the other line that they announced? But whatever their young adult line is.
Wonder Comics.
No, there's another one. DC Inc. and DC something else. That they're going to be having those at the book fairs at schools.
Oh, the young person imprint one.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they called it.
Let me see if I can find it here. But they're looking to have comics outside of comic book shops.
Which is, I suppose, a smart idea is to get more people the opportunity to go pick them up.
DC Inc. and DC Zoom. So they're going to have those at book fairs. So because the Superhero Girls, the book by Shea Fontana. That book is like their number one seller overall with everything. So they were looking to expand that market by making a whole line of books that are available there. So, and that's what they said too. Like majority of the ones that they sell are at those book fairs. So they're looking to not only just stay in the comic book shop, but expand to everywhere in stores, which is a good idea. Because I think we were talking about like, what is it about these movies are popular, obviously, but why aren't people picking up these comics? And we talked about how it's hard to find them, or hard to figure out like, where do I go? Some places don't have comic book shops.
But the one thing is a comic book store is frightening to step into if it's your first time.
Oh, and also I forgot to tell you this too. They're also creating like they did with the Walmart thing, and who knows, this might fail also, and then they'll have to make them come out everywhere. But they're making a line exclusive to GameStops because GameStop wants to start carrying comics, and so GameStop, they're going to make some books for them. Who knows if it's new? They didn't announce anything besides if it's new stuff or reprint the stuff. Who knows? But they're going to have a line or something like that they'll come out there. But it looks like they're trying to reach more of an audience through different markets rather than just coming out where they usually come out. So that's what they're going to be changing here. And who knows? At least they're trying to do something and try to find a new audience because it's been a while.
I think my only thing I was hoping to hear from the changes was that they were going to actually drop the 2 times a month books back to 1. And I know some of them had changed over. Like Aquaman used to be a double, now it's only a single.
It's only a couple now. I think it's Batman, Flash, Nightwing,
Wonder Woman.
Might be the only 4.
That might be.
Yeah, they
Superman
cut that back
sometimes,
already. I think it's only
doesn't,
like their main books now. So yeah, this is the only thing. If you look at, well, also they said that Dan Dio said that part of the reason they want to do this is because they feel like single issues themselves, just by themselves, is saturating the market and people can't buy as many comics because there's just too much coming out. And he kind of wants to make it so that DC is more streamlined, so that if you want to follow a certain character, it's easier rather than having like 10 books you got to follow this one character. So I looked at some stats, and just in December alone, DC put out I think 52 books, which is ironic, but 52 books in December, and Marvel put out 90. So that kind of gives you the ideas on like how much each of them are putting out, and DC is looking to cut back from that amount that they put out. So, which makes sense. Like if you have less if there was like 2 Batman books, I probably would get both of them. But if there's like 10, I'm going to pick which ones I can get. And so it allows them to tell a bigger story within those 2 books. So like if an event happens and it's a tie-in just between those 2 books, I'll get it. But if it was like 10 books. I'm not going to get all 10 of those books, right? So
I've done that. That sucks.
yeah. So they're looking to kind of streamline that. So that is the DC news corner. So some good stuff coming up from Matt Fraction and Greg Rucka. But also, I find that news is exciting because Greg Rucka, obviously from his Wonder Woman arc, that wasn't just a one-time thing. The reason why he didn't write for DC for the longest time is because he didn't like the way it was being run. He didn't really like Dan DiDio. And he came back and did Wonder Woman because they asked him to come back. Jeff said it was better now. And he did it. So obviously he had a good time with that if he's coming back again. Right. And also, if we look, Matt Fraction, I believe his first DC work, or at least since he's broken big, over there now because his wife's up there too. So maybe she enjoys it and they talked him into writing a series for them. So we have two big writers that'll be over at DC now, which I feel like is the way that they're going. DC has more of the writers that have a name, and maybe it's because Bendis is over there too and talked to Matt Fraction. Who knows? Because they worked a lot together in Marvel, but they have more marquee named writers, and where Marvel seems to be finding new talent and rising up new talent like Donny Cates, right? Jim Zub, who's writing the Avengers now. Who else?
Yeah, but you can't. I mean, they still have veteran writers, Jason Aaron. I say Spencer's actually getting kind of more of a veteran. He's written enough things. He's had a big event that may or may not have been great, but
I guess that's true. And I guess DC does have some up-and-coming writers too. So, yeah. So here we go. Matt Fraction. We'll see if he sticks around DC and does some more books besides Jimmy Olsen.
Are those meant to be minis or are they ongoing?
They're ongoings, I believe. Who knows? We'll see. Well, more news. They didn't actually, I don't think they officially announced them. They just leaked because there's this previous thing and it had him on the page that says, starting here, Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane, like Garrett was saying, the Leviathan #1 special, and it says new ongoing, and then it showed who was doing them. So we'll see. Well, those are some news. Let's talk about some books that came out this week. First up on the docket, Guardians of the Galaxy #2, written by Donny Cates, speaking of Donny Cates, and drawn by Jeff Shaw. This is the second issue of the new Guardians of the Galaxy series. And in this issue, a lot of stuff goes down. I actually read pretty fast. I started reading it at work, and then I picked it up on my phone, and then I started reading it when I got home on my iPad. And it surprised me when I got to my iPad that it shows a progress bar, and I was almost done with it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Because it seemed like I just picked it up and started reading it. I really like this series. It feels fun, but also like we have some stakes. We have enough characters. I don't know who exactly is super important that they wouldn't get rid of, if that makes sense. And I only say that because obviously I don't even know that. They might kill Star-Lord. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this book with these characters, there's nobody too big that they wouldn't kill Spider-Man, right? Without a big event. True. But any of the people in the Guardians books, I'm not sure.
Well, to be fair, I think Star-Lord already died once.
Yeah,
sounds like Gamora died.
Yeah,
killed
you know
him,
what?
So I don't think they're going to kill him again.
He died twice.
That's the only bummer of not reading that. Like Infinity Wars is like things like that. It's like, oh, that's interesting, but like again, when you dilute your books for like events again,
that flashback was enough. I understood he died. Yeah. So.
Well, I know, but it's one of those things. I won't go back and get the issues, but eventually I may find a way to read it that I'll get the full story. It is one of those things that it does kind of leave a weird taste in my mouth, going, oh. I wish I would have known that before, so that when I saw this, again, the stakes would have meant a little more to me going, oh, okay. That was a painful reminder.
Yeah, so he's also died before, and I believe Thanos Imperative, he died trying to kill Thanos. So
who hasn't died trying to kill Thanos?
So but that's what I mean about this book. Like, at least I know it would come out of the blue. I know, yeah, it would be a shock. Any of these people died, and it wouldn't be something where I would hear about it in a press release. So. Yeah. At least they have that going for it. It feels like it's a grand scale epic, but also a nice character book. We have a nice gauntlet of characters who are very different. And then we have a character who, in this issue, we saw was on the good guy's side, and now he's over at the, I guess, bad Guardians of the Galaxy. Or what they believe as Guardian of the Galaxy, that they have to kill Gamora because they believe that's where Thanos is. So in a way, they're not bad. They just believe like that's where we have to go. Meanwhile, Star-Lord's Guardians don't believe that. So
it kind of reminds me of the what was the evil Avengers team called? Dark Avengers, where it's like they have similar goals but just different ways about going about it. So I mean, are we not doing spoilers or?
No way to spoiler.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, like Cosmic Ghost Rider when he goes to that other team.
Oh, I thought I said his name.
No.
Oh, you were just like,
as soon as somebody moves over, I thought, oh, maybe you're right. We're not doing spoilers yet.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I thought I said somebody.
Yeah, somebody.
Well, teams, and then I thought I said Cosmic Ghost Rider.
No.
But yeah, when he did that, that was like crazy to me. And plus, it seemed kind of weird just because he was like, I don't want to do this. And then he goes to another team that's doing something about it.
No, he wanted.
He wants to kill her though.
Oh, he wants to kill
Thanos.
Gamora.
He wants to kill whatever Thanos it's going to be.
It was
you're right.
Beta Ray Bill that was like, we're not going to kill her. No,
Oh, okay.
we got to find
it.
a better way.
That's right.
And he's like, if we ever meet again, he was going to show him what's up, which might be future forecasting or foreshadowing, excuse me, that we might see Cosmic Ghost Rider versus Beta Ray Bill in the future when these two groups diverge in the storyline.
But who's to say that? I'm just kind of surprised that Cosmic Ghost Rider did switch teams. I could see him coming back again when Star Fox and whomever else pisses him off. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll go back with the other guys. I can still kill her on my own time, but
That's what I was going to say. I don't think that him being on that team is like a permanent thing. It might even be in his crazy head way, a way that he is going to see what they're doing to keep up on them. But who knows?
But the most important thing is, where's his damn motorcycle? That dude should never be even in the ship. He should be riding his motorcycle, yelling
Maybe
at
he left it out of nowhere.
Whatever.
Hey, I also had a question.
I'm sure you can just make a new one.
When he was with the good guys, I say in quotes, Star-Lord, Groot, Beta Ray Bill, Moondragon, and who else was on the team?
I don't know, the green girl?
I don't remember.
I don't remember the girls' names yet.
That was Moondragon. Well, who that person was. Anyways, he didn't have a helmet. And then when he was on the other guy's side, he had a helmet containing his flames. I thought that was very strange.
He looked like Onslaught at that point, like a small Onslaught. I don't know if that was maybe they're out in space, that there's an opening and he has to hold in those flames so he doesn't lose it, even though he's dead.
I don't know. So for a second there, I thought maybe it was a different Cosmic Ghost Rider. Maybe in the time stream, it was when he was bad. I don't know. But it threw me for a loop just based on that character change.
Although that would kind of make sense because it seems really quick that Cosmic Ghost Rider would have gotten over there.
Yeah, and that made me kind of think that he potentially could be Thanos, you know? Because, like, what if there's, like, a clone of him, and then we find out, you know, like, not that Thanos would have memories of being raised by Punisher. So, I don't know, it's weird.
But it would make sense that if Thanos still had those memories of being Punisher Thanos, that he maybe have gone over to...
But I think that timeline got erased when...
I suppose they undid it after.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? You know what? This is Marvel. Who knows?
I mean, this is a pretty fun book. Just like it's kind of like a whodunit, even though we're trying to figure out who Thanos is.
Who's it gonna be?
Who's it going to be? Yeah. And we got a lot of Black Order in this book. We got some Hela. She is definitely like the mastermind behind the evil side of things. Like, you know, they've taken Thanos' head. They have his body now too.
I think this is one of those books that I want more than what we're getting for story. Like, it's great. I mean, the cliffhanger, not even cliffhanger, just the wanting of more from this team is great. I say team as in writer and artist. I want to read more than just one issue at a time. I want to be binge read it and get more story, because that's where I'm kind of lacking.
You know what I think you need in your life is a little Cosmo.
Boom.
This other
He needs to be on this team.
Yeah, I know. By the way, also I just checked here. I guess he does have his helmet when he's on the good one, and he takes it off when he's fighting. So
Okay. There goes that theory.
the other team also, though, it's very believable that they would be in that team. They're not 100% bad guys. Like, they've been good guys before. So we have Nebula, and we have Cosmic Ghost Rider, and we have a Kree person here, and we have
Isn't Gladiator on there?
Gladiator. So like, these guys have been good or bad. So it's nice to see that it's a team that's not just villains. That we have a team of people who heroes that kind of go through that gray area, and then we have the other side where we just have heroes. So we have heroes. I don't like using the term anti-hero because it's kind of overused. They're more heroes with questionable morals. And then at the end, they're going to go look for Richard Rider, Nova, because he probably knows what Gamora is. So
Why? I didn't understand that.
I'm assuming it's something we didn't read. So I don't know.
No, that's fine.
I'm sure that I bet Gamora had a relationship with him at some point in the past that we've never read in the comics.
So he's going to go. Nebula said, Her boyfriend probably knows, and they cut to Richard Rider. I think it was supposed to be that we would assume it'd be Star-Lord, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's actually Richard Rider, and then they're going to go find him, which is cool because I like Nova. This story, the whole thing, like I was saying before, just feels fresh to me because we haven't been. Well, I haven't really. Well, that's not true.
I tried to get into Guardians.
Yeah, I tried to get into Guardians when it was Bendis, but it seemed like those writers were more concerned about doing a weird thing in space rather than treating it like an epic that they could do in space where it's their own world up there. And this feels like that's what Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw are doing, where it feels like very expansive. It feels like I'm not sure what's going to happen and also who's going to show up. So who knows? But I really love this book this week. This was a strong 9 for me. The only thing is it does seem like maybe we got a little spoiled by that first issue that was so long. But like Alex was just saying, the second issue, I'm like, feels like it could have been a little bit more. It was just like, what, 2 scenes?
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, maybe that's enough for this point. It was you saw Star-Lord kind of having these issues. He's talking to Kitty Pryde and goes, I'm struggling. She goes, well, I'm not your girlfriend anymore. You really shouldn't be talking to me. You should probably go talk to, the actual love of your life. Who's that? Who do you think, dipshit?
Yeah, he's obviously a drunk.
Well, yeah, I mean,
what he went
right
through
now.
was super tragic, and come to find out that Gamora's a murderer now, but I thought she was like a mercenary.
She was always an assassin. So.
Right. But I don't know. I really enjoy the book. The team's awesome. Beta Ray Bill. Anytime he talks, I'm just like, yes. Can we just have like a solo Beta Ray Bill book? But I mean, I do like him part of the team. And it also throws me off with like Groot being able to talk fully, just because like obviously you don't see that in the movies or read that in the comics that much. But it's definitely fun seeing this unfold. And I agree, Marvin. It's very much like an epic. So I'd give it a 9.
I'd give this a 9. I like the baby Groots. Stab, 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 stab. Those were great. There were good things about this book. I just, like we've already said before, I almost need to be reading a little bit more than what we're getting. So I think the next time 3 comes out, I might just binge read 1 and 2 again.
I think also anybody listening to this being like, well, that's not a fault of the book. That's a fault of actually that's a good thing because they want you to read more. Yes, but my score is based on how much I enjoyed it. If I was thinking about it critically, I would probably give this a 10. It was a good issue. I just feel like I want more from this, and so I felt it was only two scenes in which I felt like maybe one more thing, and that would have been good.
I did have one gripe. Star Fox or Fox Star or Eros or whatever Thanos' brother's name is. The first time you see him looking almost over, it's like, oh, he does look like Two-Face. There's one point at like the next panel where his face healed up just fine.
I was just perfect.
And I thought, well, that's weird. And then they go back to, oh yeah, I forgot his face was burnt off. And it bugged me. I thought maybe I looked wrong the first time. It's like, no, he's got a burnt off face.
Well, sometimes the background characters they kind of forget about them.
And it was like a shadowed part, so maybe it just was in the shadow, but it bugged me. But you know what else we got this week?
What?
Got our favorite Return of Wolverine number 5 of 5. Thank God this book is done. Written by Charles Soule, art by Steve McNiven, who always showed up for the last issue.
Do you think that the next Wolverine event will be called like Stinkverines or like Shitterines or This Is So Bad?
I think at this point in time they just need to have an actual like Wolverine. Get the Wolverine. What's the Wolverine's name?
Logan?
No, not that Wolverine. Honey Badger's Wolverine. Dave? Steve?
Oh yeah, it's Dave.
It's Dave? Okay.
Yeah.
Just write a book about Dave because that's all we'd really need. I binge read 3, 4, and 5 because I just was disappointed from issue 2. Issue 3 was fine. Issue 4, that's the lie. Bobby Drake got cut in half and pissed me off. How the hell does that happen? We keep going into Wolverine's brain and seeing him see these different versions of himself, and he has to go unlock the door so that he can.
Yeah, it's like one of those freaking dreamscape movies where you're going into your own memories and you're trying to find yourself, and then there's like you said, all these different versions. It's just absolute dog shit. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of skepticism about the death of Wolverine when Charles Soule and Steve McNiven wrote that,
that was great.
It was great, but it did still have a lot of people didn't really. I mean, some people did enjoy it, some people didn't, because it wasn't like what was the other one? Mark Miller had done one.
Yeah,
I can't remember what one that was.
The Old Man Wolverine.
No, there was a 4-issue run that they did about Wolverine. Maybe that was the Death of Wolverine. Was Mark Miller? Was that?
Well, no, Death of Wolverine was Charles Soule, but it was the original Old Man Logan was.
Well, I know that. There was another story with Mark Miller and Steve McNiven did something. I don't know, maybe I am thinking Civil War or something like that, Old Man Logan or anywho's. This is dog shit. Like, well, here's the simple thing, is I would get the little heat claws, got him out of the adamantium, and then he's at the exact same location that his statue is in, but no. Instead, we see an empty statue carcass, and next thing you know, we're in a dreamscape, and it never leaves it the entire series.
Yep.
It's just so piss poor, and I don't even know what Charles Soule is thinking. Like, I mean, you read that, I want to go up to him and be like, tell me a cool Wolverine story. And if he even tried to spit this out, I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, no, this is so bad. Like, none of it makes any sense for Wolverine as a character, and it's not even interesting. Like, all those different versions of himself, he just like lets them out, and he's like, yeah, sure, why not? And it's like,
Well,
there's no, so this is supposed to be like emotional finding yourself, and he lets all these versions of himself back out, except for the Berserker mode one, which I'm like, oh yeah, the only one that can fucking get you to do anything? Okay, cool. Lock him up.
Yeah, but he did, use that Berserker in 3, and he cut people in half and stabbed everybody. That it's like, okay, I can kind of understand, because he killed all these people that Persephone now zombified. And so
Persephone shouldn't have even been in this book.
Persephone brings the brilliant people up onto the space satellite, and she's using their power or their intellect to make other satellites to focus on these people on Earth, to make them all zombies, to do her bidding. And she goes, oh, Wolverine, I've been thinking about death my whole life, da 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 da. And he's like, good, I'm going to stab you in the face, bitch. And that never happened. The only thing that I will admit I slightly enjoyed is that when Wolverine is talking to these smart guys, and he goes, yep, you guys close these things down, I won't kill you. And then he goes and finds the boiler room and blows that to shit. You know, so and in my way, it's like, no, he didn't kill them. He did screw them over, because they all burned on re-entry. And as he's burning up on his way back down, falls into the water. He's like, sup, bub? I'm in the water. And I'm just like, no, this isn't the Wolverine book I would have wanted. What I would want from Return of Wolverine is much like in Old Man Logan, or just Logan. Instead of having his demon be Berserker or evil Wolverine, I wanted him to fight some other BA monster, Omega Red, or I know he already killed Omega Red again, and he killed Daken, sorry. Sabretooth. You got a whole shitload of people who hate Wolverine. That's what this Return of Wolverine should have been. Right. A team up of these bad guys where Wolverine's running the gauntlet. The first thing he does when he gets out is has to fight his way back through to find his friends, who may not believe him, but...
A little fan fiction here. What if he woke up and all he can remember is Sabretooth or something? And then he's like, this book's about him hunting down a villain, and that's all he can, because who's Wolverine? He's a beast. Yeah. I mean, that's what he is. He's a beast. He hunts. He does all that. No, instead we get this omnipresent Wolverine that, as you can see at the end of this series, he's going to go control an Infinity Gauntlet, I guess.
It made me feel so bad. I love Wolverine, and I have no interest. This character just feels dead to me still. I don't want what they're going to give me.
Yeah, it just came at it couldn't be a worse time to bring Wolverine back. They're rushing it. He's going to be in every single team book with a convoluted origin back into this series, or into Marvel itself. And yes, eventually there will be an ongoing book, but it's going to have to take a great premise and a great creative team to get me to get that.
I'd say it depends on who's going to write it. I don't even know who I'd want on that book.
But, in this Return of Wolverine, they couldn't even explain to us, kinetic energy, growing in his claws, and that's why he got out. Instead, it's just this huge, metaphor for who fucking knows what they're trying to say in this story.
And so this is a weird tangent, but in Batman Arkham Origins, Batman gets the electric gauntlets from Electrocutioner, and as you fight, you can eventually unleash those electric powers. Sweet. That's what the Wolverine claws should have been. It's not even about the longer he's clawed up. It's how many more people are you fighting? Eventually you build up to that strength. And, oh my gosh, my claws have been used so much. I built up that much heat and retention. Sweet. All of a sudden, because I used hulked out, my claws became super hot. No offense. When those go back in your skin, you're going to melt off all the muscle and all the bones and everything. Well, I guess your bones will be fine. But there were things in this book I wanted, and I want to love the Wolverine. This book has made it very hard for me to love the Wolverine. I cannot wait to start reading Wolverine: The Long Night.
Yeah.
Where it actually is just Logan, whatever he's doing. I haven't read one or two
they
yet.
announced they're doing a sequel to that
really?
They're going to do a sequel podcast first, and then there'll be a sequel comic.
By all means.
I'm sure.
I think that book will be more Wolverine than what I got out of this.
Right. I'm going to give this a 3. I mean, even Steve McNiven's art, there was no scene I saw that I was like, oh, that's really good art. Like Death Wolverine, they made it like feel like a huge thing. This seems rushed. Art did not look good. Story, holy shit, bad.
You know what? I'm going to give it a 4. There were a few tiny little things that I kind of enjoyed. Seeing Wolverine's skin bubble, solid. So I'll give this a 4, but it was not. If anyone asks me, should I read Return of Wolverine? I'm going to tell you no.
Skip it.
Skip it. Wait until the new series comes out, because then at least you can get the new updated origin or new updated power set or whatever it's going to be.
They'll explain it to you, and I don't know. It's just fucked right now.
What do we get?
Next, we have a way better book. Way, way better. We have Black Badge number 7, written by Matt Kent with art by Tyler Jenkins. So what do you guys think of this book?
I loved it. I actually had to read
5, 6, and 7?
I think even 4, maybe. I don't know. What was the issue right after they found Jimmy?
That'd
4?
be 5.
That'd be 5.
Okay,
4 is when they found Jimmy. 5 is when they got home and got
So I had
debriefed.
5, 6, and 7. And I really enjoyed it. There was, you guys talked about on the Gauntlet, there's some flashbacks and things like that. But reading back to back, I had no issues doing that. But I do like the way this book is heading. So a book that from the first issue, we thought we would just see these random missions and it'd be like a fun book, has really turned into this conspiracy spy kind of book with these kids, and how it turned out that the group, they thought they were the good guys, but they're not the good guys. Jimmy did not leave and get kidnapped. I mean, he didn't get kidnapped. He left because he realized what was going on, and now he's fighting against it. So the art is fantastic. The art direction is fantastic, like in terms of the issue with the Rainbow Brigade. Is that what it's called?
Rainbow Jamboree.
The showing the island, all that stuff, great. Like showing what it looks like at first, and then the different types of environment that they fought in. I love the whole 3 issues that I read.
Who has the Black Badge right now? Who's putting him in the water?
Oh, the White Badges.
Is the White Badges?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the only thing that it's not a problem. I just needed to have known is that their colors don't represent what badge they are.
No, wait, the White Badges are the conspiracy organization. They're like the ones you can't see. That's not the White Badges.
Because the pink badges were the girls,
No,
the blue badges were the science kids. I thought these weren't green badges, but they were wearing green.
No, they were the White Badges.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I just read it before you guys got here. I can pull it up here, though.
The ones that were dunking them with the wood? Because I thought Jimmy was a sleeper agent for the White Badges.
No, he's part of
Rebellion against it.
Yeah.
I only had one thing that bothered me. It wasn't even in this issue. Is that in issue 6, the pink badges are talking to Mitz, and Mitz is their archer on this team, and she's on an all boys team, and she's led. And apparently, these 3 guys, either they've never claimed that she's a girl, they never call her a girl, or they've never asked, and they didn't care. But when the pink badges had mentioned it, I realized this has nothing to do with 7. It just has bothered me, and I wanted to talk about it real quick on the show. Where she's like, no, I'm on the team I want to be on. I don't want to be on your pink badges. But they're like, oh, come on, homie. It's just, it bugged me that I already knew you were a girl from issue 1, because she looks like a girl. Even if she's got, whatever taped or whatever strapped on her chest, I already figured out you were a girl.
Right.
There's something that just... And again, maybe the guys don't care.
No, people make fun of. They made fun of him for looking like a girl, and he always fought them, and they all defended him. So he actually is a girl. But so you're right. People knew, but they were denying. Be like, no, he says he's not. So leave him alone. Because in the last issue, the Blue Badges said that too. They go, yeah, we know you're not a guy or something like that. I forgot what it was.
Did they ask to draft her too? Hey, if you want to be on our team?
Oh, that's right.
So I just remember the end of this last issue. I thought, Jimmy was trying to infiltrate the White Badges. But I didn't think that was the ones dunking them. The
Blue Badges, White Badge. Yeah, the White Badges are in the bottom. Those are the guys who were dunking them. Yeah.
Huh.
The bad guys should call something else. I was trying to find that. He calls them something else.
Okay, that makes sense.
The white badges though work for that organization. Like they know what's
Right.
up, and they know
They're
that
the
they're
team
bad.
from that.
Yeah, they know
set.
that they're
Okay.
bad, and they don't care. So, the black badges and the pink badges came to an understanding because, like Alex was saying, they found out that there's a girl on the team, and they kind of talked it out. And the blue badges just are their
Got the shit
rivals,
kicked out of 'em.
who they just keep a fight. But they understand like they weren't gonna kill each other. They have a rivalry. They hate each other, but they don't want to.
Well, the white badges were going to kill these guys.
Yeah,
You know,
they were.
I do not find it realistic that those Boy Scouts could
One-legged
use one-legged, put the momentum of an entire human body on the other
Say,
end.
Willie doesn't seem like he's a light kid. I'm guessing he's got to be 150. I'm a strong guy, and even in my prime, 150 pounds on one leg is tough to push up. And especially when you're using a board that's got to be about 10 feet away. That's a lot of weight that you're...
Is that what the guy with the red hat is, Willie?
Honor Society. Those are the bad guys.
Okay, Honor
The-
Society.
so we knew the white badges have been co-opted by the Honor Society. It says.
Willie, beast mode in this issue.
Yeah.
Like using all those badges, like deadlift badge, like judo badge,
Yes.
like all that. That was such a cool sequence. I was like, fuck yes, that's what this book should be.
That was what the Hawkeye issue 3, where you're learning all these arrows that he has right before he shoots it. That's what this was.
Yeah.
Deadlift badge was great. This issue was amazing.
What do you guys think? They're gonna now they won a vacation, which it seems like they were kind of made to win, so that way they could be off the grid, and they're gonna go kill Willie. So the next few
Yeah.
issues we'll have will be
I was kind of disappointed the Jamboree wrapped up as quickly as it did. I was expecting it to be this big thing, and it's just like, boop, boop, done. I was like, it didn't really see like a Jamboree. It seemed like
I thought
a night
it'd
in
be
the
more them
woods.
duking it out. Like one issue is going to be duking out with blue, then pink. You know, them having to win. But I suppose the whole point was
Yeah.
all you had to do was show these quick verses, show the black badges really were that badass, and they got this sweet car and won.
Yeah.
Now we get to see what they do against the team who's hunting them when they're off the grid.
I really do like this way that it ended because, like we were saying earlier, this book started out and I thought it was going to be like a fun spy book, but now it is kind of a thriller spy book in a way.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we're getting to a place now where there are real consequences to actions, and so we might see somebody die, and we might see now it's churned from, hey, this is fun, this is what we do, which is kind of how the first issue was. Look at these, Boy Scouts using weird little makeshift weapons to affect world events and like be spies, and now it's like, but now you've learned too much and we got to kill you. Rather
Right.
than the first issue, it seemed like they were all safe.
I don't think any of the black badges have actually killed anybody yet, have we?
No,
So I think if nothing else, maybe none of these 4 die.
it seemed like the pink badges killed somebody accidentally once, and it seemed like the white badges would kill.
Anybody
We don't
anyway.
know how many people they've killed. But and then we have now the Swabbies. That's where Jimmy went. The Scouts without badges are fighting against the Honor Society. So we have two sides, and they're stuck in the middle. Which actually, if you guys ever seen Alias TV
Yeah.
show, and it's kind of like Alias, right? She
Right.
thinks she's working for the CIA, and then it turns out no, she's working for a terrorist organization who covers by saying they're the CIA. So it's kind of like that, and she didn't know that until she was already too deep. So it's good. I love this issue, but it also is very hard for me to figure out what issue was just 7 in my head. So I was going to give it a strong 9. I would give it a 10 if I just read this issue, but I'm not sure if what I like about it is from issues 6, 5. So strong 9.
See, I think for me, it's I didn't read them all together, so the story seemed a little more odd for me. I'd give this an 8. Still looked great. The story was amazing, and to finally see Willie not be a wiener was great.
I would give it a 9. I think I had a lot of fun with the Willie badge scene.
Oh, good.
Jesus. I had a lot of fun with him, like, using his knowledge of his badges. You sick freak. And, I don't know. I like the character development. I think, it's kind of crazy seeing Kenny almost die. Like, they were dunking him for so long. Like, it was like, if you don't get him up for air.
Yeah, but even
He's gonna
some of the
die.
white badges don't want to kill then.
Right.
Because he's like, you're going to kill him. It's like, no, he'll be fine. And it's fine if he drowns. It's like, okay, then you're a monster.
Right. But now Willie knows too much and he needs to die. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It seems like James Bond for kids. I mean, not really, but I mean, it is very adult content.
James Bond with kids.
James Bond
This
with
is
kids.
Jimmy's Bastards.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So speaking of which, if you do want to catch up on it, all 6 issues are on Hoopla, but also they're individual, so it does cost you one thing to rent them. But if you have a month where you have nothing else you want to read and you want to use your 6 on that, you can catch up there and then just read issue 7. And also, before the show, we were talking about Matt Kinnon and Tyler Dickens' Grass Kings Volume 1. We were looking to try to figure out to get into that because it looks fantastic. And since this series is so great, I want to go back, and on Comixology Unlimited, it's on there. So I downloaded it. So I'm going to read that because it looks, actually, I read like the first few pages as good. So this next book we are going to be reading is called Wildstorm number 20. This is Warren Ellis, John Davis Hunt, and I believe, let me double check, I believe somebody else helped out John Davis Hunt, but I will check that here in a second. So here is something also that is very unique. I had a lot of stuff going on recently, right? I just had a kid. I was in the hospital with him for a few days. I've been really busy at work, so I've been behind on comics. I'll just say that. So I actually was, the last issue I read of this, let me look here quick, is issue 18. So I read 18, 19, 20, back to back. John Davis Hunt, Steve Buccello is the person helping him out. So I read 3 back to back. And when I read 19. 18 was fine. I liked 18 a lot. 19, there was a lot going on, a lot of words. But it also made me think that I was reading that by itself, I probably would be bored and confused. But it was a nice little taste because 20 was one of these issues that we've seen in Wildstorm before where 20 was the action issue where a lot of action happened.
That's all that happened.
Compared to the issue before, which was mostly just dialogue
crap.
and exposition.
Art was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, but it was, I felt like I read it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I did, but it was fantastic.
Yeah.
We have Midnighter and Apollo kicking some ass.
Is that actually what their names are?
Yeah.
And that's okay.
So destroying fucking everything, but making sure that civilians also aren't being hurt. Like they made sure to keep it contained. Midnighter fucking tore people's head off.
Okay, so that whole 2-page scene of Midnighter looking at this 6 or 7 people, and every little panel is him either uppercutting someone's head off, bashing their face into his knee, literally decapitating somebody, breaking the. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this dude's a monster.
Well, a lot of people compare him to Batman just because he's so dark, but yeah, he takes it to the extreme for sure.
What, 7, 8 guys?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Blades through him like a flashlight.
Yeah.
We got a hand through the chest, foot to the chin, headbutt, elbow to the top of the head, side of the ribs with his fist, uppercut that goes from his midsection to the guy's top of his head that slices through the guy, where he brings his head down onto his knee, and then the last one chop through the neck. So
When he headbutts, does he do a correct headbutt?
yeah, he does. Right in his nose.
That's right.
So, but also you can't really tell because it's obliterating his face. So one of this,
It didn't matter. He's already
the
dead.
placement looks good, but either way, I don't think Midnighter has to worry about actually using it to break his nose. He destroyed his face. So. I really did love this issue. So the thing about this book is, in reading those 3 back to back, I think because prior to that I had read like 1 issue. I was caught up. So 17 I had read as it came out, and then 18 I fell behind, so I read 18, 19, 20.
Well, there was a
back.
big gap between 17 and 18.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I was
Right.
ready. But I feel like this book is going to be great for anybody that reads it all together.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you read this issue to issue, it's very confusing. There's a lot to take in. Like if you were to get 19 by itself, and I think you guys on the forecast kind of said this, where it seems like there's spinning wheels, but also there's so much going on that in 19 they have to set up so much for 20 to happen that reading 19 by itself is set up for something that you never get payoff in that issue. So
I've actually found, and maybe this is one of those issues that reinvigorated my love for this book, because the detail to art and detail to just, I don't know, these characters seem legit. I loved this issue so much that I am forgiving the slower issues that I'm like, I don't know if I really care for this. You're right. The spinning of the wheels is you really got to set up a book to have a whole issue that is literally art with maybe 28 words.
yeah, 19 is all set up. So reading it week by month like we do, it is build up to a payoff we don't see till a month later. So I think reading this, I'm pretty sure Warren Ellis wrote this with in mind that somebody would read it as a complete story and not week like month to month like this. Like if they could go back and restructure how they were putting this book out, I would say they should have done like trades of arcs because they would have been better. And that's kind of the choice that you make in single issues is that you run the risk of somebody not writing for issues and writing for trades like it is in here. But I think, like Alex was saying, this issue is fantastic. The fighting is fantastic, and that's what we loved about the series in the past, that it was realistic. But now we have these superpower beings fighting, and it still is realistic in a way that it doesn't feel like over the top. It feels like this is what they can do. And it makes me excited to see the last 4 issues. But then again, like I said, the last issue I liked just because I read the back-to-back. I assume if I read that by itself, I would have been like, that 19 would have not been good, but it was good in context of what I found in this issue. So I really did enjoy it. This was a strong 8 for me. There's not much to say. It's basically just fighting.
I mean, it is. It's fighting. It's Io versus Skywatch. I think we know more of the factions a lot better now. So yes, again, 19, we were all kind of like, okay, we get it, move on. But it does set up this issue very nicely because you can see the old man I think he's from Io.
Yes.
And we're Skywatch.
Which old man? The bald guy?
The bald guy.
He's in Skywatch.
Oh, he's Skywatch. Okay,
he used to be
whatever.
part of IO, and he
Defected,
left to
right.
make Skywatch.
Okay. So when he does some of his moves, he's like cheering. And there's other scenes where he's like pissed off because so it's basically a big chess match in the world as the board.
And he used to. So the last arc was about Thunderbook, and he was in charge of those agents of Thunderbook. So he's looking at a way to like reactivate them. In one of the last issues, and so John Lynch, who we saw in the prior issues, who was going around trying to warn them of this, that they're coming to look for you, and then a couple people he fought against. He used to be part of Skywatch too, but they all are out of it now.
18 was good. 18 was
another issue,
right?
yeah. Where then
had good fights, but had good writing in it. I think I'm going to say this to you guys right now, just even on the show, that most likely I might wait to put 24 on the list and just read 21 through 24, and we can talk about the whole
I feel like
thing.
it's the best way to read that book.
Because otherwise we're going to read, if I tell you to read 22, you're going to be like, oh, this was fine, but I think reading it as a whole would be much better and way more for us to talk about than this book is right now. Because this book was amazing. I'm going to give it a 9. I really enjoyed the art. I really enjoyed the realistic fight style, even though it's ungodly strengthened by Midnighter, but I what a way to make my week fast when it came to reading.
I'm going to give it an 8. I've been loving the story. I mean, again, there are some of those times where it dips, but it's for a lot of exposition. But I think it did pay off really well in this issue. But I was also hoping, for 5 issues left, just hoping for a little more meat on there. But that's okay. There's still 4 issues left to finish up the story. And it's just hard for me not to think long term, like what they're going to do after the series is done. If they're going to like continue it on as like a year 2 kind of thing, or like a Wildstorm 2 or whatever. I don't know. But
like Alex said, I feel like, at least for me, I have a better understanding of the factions at this point. So like when Angie left the Wildcats to join the Authority, like I understood that change and who was on each team. And they also talked about Michael Cray being on trying to find his team. I think it was in issue 19. They were talking about where everybody is, and it kind of set up a nice, like we know that what the players are, and then going into the last 4, I'm pretty sure they'll all come back together, and we'll find something there. But yeah, it's nice. But also, like I said before, if you're reading this issue to issue and you dropped it on 19 because of all the exposition, I think even at 19 there was a flashback for history on the teams. I'm pretty sure it was 19.
Yeah, with the old spaceship footage and stuff.
And so it's kind of weird when we have a lot going on in the present day and you're like, hey, let me go back in the past and tell you what's going on there too. So 19 was a lot, but 20 I think is enough payoff for 19 to make it worth it. So especially back to back like that. So good stuff. Wildstorm.
You know what else is good? Catwoman number 8, written by Joelle Jones, art by Elena Casagrande. Who knows? Joelle Jones did the cover. I've said this before. I love this book. I don't actually remember what had happened though in this issue.
In this issue, they are so the lady who I can't remember her name, but,
Noseless.
No Face, No Face lady is trying to find this stuff that is supposed to bring people back from the dead. She wants to bring back her son. And the Penguin sends Selena to go steal the whole gem of it because he wants the whole thing. So the issue starts out with the lady whose face is... What was her name?
I called her Noseless.
Oh, Noseless. Goes and buys...
I don't remember her name. Madam something or another. But she's the leader of this family, the matriarch.
To buy this dust. And then she says, oh, is that the source? And she goes, that's not for sale. And she goes, money's not an issue. And she goes, the price of owning this object's too high even for you, I believe.
So when she's talking to Odessa?
Yeah. And so they leave. Penguin's like, hey, I want you to steal this thing. So we get an issue of her trying to steal it. So she breaks into the place, which we find that the place is infested with these, I would say, zombies that probably she brought back to guard this item. And we get a great shot here of the zombies attacking Catwoman, which even though it's not Joelle Jones doing the art, I feel like she found a good complement to her storytelling. And I would imagine that Joelle still has input on how the panels are laid out, and it's fantastic. As it was at the beginning, it still is now. Catwoman goes to steal this thing and then brings it to Penguin, and they capture Penguin. Or excuse me, they capture Catwoman. Penguin captures Catwoman and says, if you knew I put you on the job, you get it done, but you wouldn't want me to leave your lovely town without a sovereign, would you? Sovereign, no.
Sovereign.
Is that
Souvenir?
the right word? Souvenir. Oh, Jesus. I'm going to say Wolverine.
Sovereign.
That's the new Wolverine. He's a sous chef. And so I guess they're taking her too, or they're taking...
I'm not sure.
Or is he saying that he knew that she would never give it up to him, so he's taking her out too?
Didn't he see what happened to his crew the last time he pissed her off?
Now, who knows?
She threw some people through some windows.
This time she wasn't expecting them to be through
15 guys with guns.
So we'll see. Now Penguin has the thing to bring people back to life. I don't know what he's...
Yeah, so who would he bring back to life?
Who knows?
His father?
Yeah, maybe.
Ugh,
Maybe a penguin died. Bring him back.
good. Emperors?
He
king,
tried some...
rock hoppers?
defibrillator and it didn't work, so now he's going to use this stuff on him.
Fried chicken. Jeez.
Maybe he's going to raise a penguin army.
Or I mean, who knows? Maybe he's selling it to somebody
Yeah, he's
else.
probably just selling
He's
it.
probably a middleman. I actually really did enjoy this issue. Now that Marvin reminded me, I read this Wednesday, so it's been about 4 days, and I've read about probably about 20 books since then. Everything's tied together. Bully Wars.
Yeah, so just so everybody knows, usually we record the show on Thursday, but we couldn't this week, so we're recording this probably the day you're hearing it, because I'll release it right after we're done here, after I edit it together. So either you're hearing it the day we recorded or the day after. So we have a nice perspective here. So
anyway, this issue was great. I forgot that fight between Odessa and Catwoman. Excellent. For the record, you should never bring anything back from the dead.
no, I don't think it ever works out, does it?
I don't remember what book it was from Edgar Allan Poe, but you wished your son to come back. Well, your son was dead, and he got his head blown off, so he still has his face blown off, and he's alive. He's not your son. Whatever these things were, they were not what they were supposed to be.
Well, I think you saw that Catwoman fought against these creatures that were brought back, and they don't look like normal humans anymore. So the lady bringing back her son, like you said, it's just going to be the body, not actually him. So
it's going to be a mean monster of goo that I'm sure Catwoman's going to have to go beat the crap out of, providing they get the thing back. I'm going to give this probably an 8. I think of Joelle Jones. Now that the art was not great, the art was very well done. I think if Joelle Jones had been on this issue, it would have stuck with me more than what we got. Story is great. I think I'm excited to know that this bad guy, noseless woman really is still prominent in the story, though, that she didn't just go away. It's not like she went to Arkham and is breaking out. No, she runs this family. She runs this town. She's not just going to go away. She's the kingpin. And I find that very interesting. And to know that Catwoman, she's going to have a tough time. Because we're not in Gotham, are we? We're somewhere.
no, yeah, I forgot what the town's called, but it's somewhere else.
So it's nice that this isn't a Batman-related story. Yes, obviously, Penguin is from Batman lore, so is Catwoman, but it's nice to know that these characters can carry on themselves without having to have Bruce and Batman and the whole Bat family show up. And it's actually, this town is scary as shit.
I think I forget what the name is. It has its own unique name. It's a city that they made up, but the architecture and the way the characters act seems kind of it might be like New Orleans kind of type place, like the colors and
yeah.
stuff like that. So it seems like that creepy Gothic kind of Southern Gothic vibe. So it is a nice setting for this kind of story, and I'm curious to see where it goes. This was a 9 for me. I had a good week of books. This was a 9 for me. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to where this goes. Catwoman, which I thought would, coming off of Batman 50, I thought it would. And if you go back in the show, I think you can even hear me be concerned that it might be too much dwelling on the Bruce Batman thing, like in her decision. But we've gotten past that now. Now it's just a Catwoman book.
Well, but even if she still does kind of think about Bruce from time to time, she's still got other things going on. Her life doesn't revolve around what happens with Bruce anymore. She still has the diamond ring, is unwilling to sell it, is unwilling to get rid of it. But that's from her past right now. She hasn't decided to come back to Gotham, I'm sure, until Batman 90, when she comes back to town to help Bruce fight Bane. But I don't know.
All we know is in Batman, he can't stop thinking about her, and in Catwoman, she forgot about him. So
she's moving on.
She moved on already. Garrett, what else did we get?
We got Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 3, written by Saladin Ahmed and art by Javier Garron. I love this series. I think if you've seen Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, they're trying to mimic that art style a lot. They're trying to mimic Miles that way. And it was really fun to have like Captain America involved in the story. Even if it doesn't make sense very much in the timeline of his book, which I'm sure that bugged you, Alex.
The character didn't seem like Captain America. It seemed like a
proto Cap.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It seemed too kiddish, almost too to the rules, Captain.
Right.
Which isn't a problem. But like you said, when you go back to the other Captain book where he's serious as hell and he's got other stuff going on in his life, this is hashtag not my captain.
Well, yeah, it's kind of how they're doing it in Black Widow right now too. It's just like Captain. They're using Captain America, the character, not Captain America, who he is right now in the comic books. Story-wise, this is wrapping up the arc that started with the first issue for his girlfriend's brother, nephew,
something like that.
Goes missing.
I don't remember.
And so does the Rhino's stepdaughter, niece. Some relation goes missing. Turns out that they are being brainwashed by some hillbilly superpower monster guy. I can't remember.
Oh, Mindbender's from G.I. Joe. It was something. It was like a dumb name,
right?
It'll come to me. The lassoer, the roper, or something like that.
Yeah, he basically adults he has harder time controlling, but kids they're so susceptible that he can make them do whatever he wants them to, kind of like the Purple Man almost. Except by doing that, he gives them superpowers.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really weird villain choice for the first villain of this new run. But I thought the partnering up of Rhino, Cap, and Miles Morales, again, sans Captain America continuity, was so much fun. And Miles Morales is really standing on his own in this book. I don't know. I just really enjoy it. And the art style, again, I am starting to get more and more fond of that art style I used in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. They're really trying to bleed that into this book, probably to get some viewers from that movie into this book. And I think it's working. I really enjoy it. There's
one thing with I'm back on the Captain train right now. Of he only served one plot point is when he knew where to go in Brooklyn to get to this facility, and he was the catalyst for the bad guy because the bad guy had to focus on Captain so hard to keep him under control that he lets go of Spider-Man and Rhino, and so it didn't seem like a natural point for Captain to show up. It didn't seem like a natural relationship, and especially the weird background that had happened with Miles Morales where he kind of duked it out in Civil War 2. I realized that was garbage. We don't give a shit about that, but I saw in Garrett, I don't know if Marvin cared or not. I don't think I want to keep getting this book. I want to read a Miles Morales book, but this just doesn't feel like a Miles Morales book that's for me. The Rhino was excellent. I love that character. I love that Rhino isn't just focused as being a bad guy, that he actually has kind of a moral compass. He kind of forgets that he's a big, burly, strong dude in that Rhino suit, but there's more to him than I kill Spider-Man. I enjoyed it. It was fine, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your point of view. I mean, it's just very different what they're trying to do to bring in new fans. I think it's very influenced by that new Spider-Man movie. So I give it a 9. I really loved it, and I can't wait for the next issue.
By the way, the reason why I'm not talking about it is, so I was going to go pick it up, and I couldn't remember if I liked 1 and 2, but all I could remember was that art, especially in that park scene that I showed you guys, their faces, and I was like, yeah, maybe I'll set this out. So I can remember, like, usually I don't remember what's going on in the book, but at least I can have that feeling, be like,
for the record, I would have chosen a different book had I known you weren't going to get it, so you could have talked about it with us.
That I knew. No, it wasn't.
No wonder you had a good week. You only had 3 books. 4 books.
Yeah, 4. Come on. And plus 2 of them I had to read. I caught up with 4 and like 3, so I was.
I'd read 8 books this week. Shut up.
But like I didn't have positive or negative feelings towards it. I just remember that art, and I was like, okay, I'll wait to see what you guys thought of it.
I think unfortunately the only character I liked was Rhino, and I think because Rhino had the most detail in it.
Yeah.
Captain America, like I said, he just didn't feel like Captain. He had parts that he fit the plot for what it needed, but he didn't serve the purpose of actually being a character. And as much as I want a Miles Morales book, Miles Morales is he's been established for so many volumes by now. This seems like a getting back to knowing how Miles is, and it kind of bugs me.
Yeah, because we're just treading ground that we've already been on.
Yeah, so I mean, if this was one of those things, we're getting into an all new spike of what he was going to do, and he's been established. He's not even over in Manhattan or wherever Peter's at now, because Peter's wherever he has to be. I think I wanted more from this book, and it just hasn't delivered. So Marvin, good job dropping off this book. Don't get it.
I just couldn't look at tall Miles with no face and just dots for eyes anymore.
Oh, that one was when we met the bridge.
That's all I can remember from this book.
Dot smiling.
That's why I was like, oh man, I'll wait.
You're right.
Those are the books for this week. Like Alex said at the beginning of the show, 2019. That is Wildstorm number 20, Black Badge number 7, Guardians of the Galaxy number 2, Miles Morales Spider-Man number 3. Is that called? Or just Miles Morales? Miles Morales Spider-Man number 3. We also had Catwoman number 7.
8.
Excuse me, 1 off. And
Return of Wolverine
number 5 of 5. Pick those up where you get your comic books, or digital if you get digital books, wherever you want to get them. I am not your keeper, like I will say earlier. For our feature this week, so I was looking at the forecast, and my weatherman came in. We conversed about it. Polar vortex might be back this week, I see, or at least it's supposed to be very cold for much of the nation, much of the U.S. I know we have an international audience, especially over the sea in the U.K. We have some pretty good numbers. I'm pretty sure weather's not great everywhere above the northern hemisphere. I mean, in the northern hemisphere. Southern, I know you got summer going right now. Stay out of this. And but everybody else, not doing so hot. It's very cold. It's very snowy. But the good thing about that cold is it's going to make the air dry, and we shouldn't get much snow in the upcoming week. But we'll see. But I thought for a good feature, what we'll do, and we can bring this back recurring if we enjoy it, but a new feature called Goodreads, where I will give us 5 categories, and you can recommend a book for that category. What that means, and the first one we'll start off with is, for an example, and this is my real answer, but just for an example so you get what's going on here, best classic comic book to read, and I am going to throw out there Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbon, is a book that is being made into a TV show this year. It's been made into a movie, but still, in terms of comic books, if you want to read what I feel like is a classic, and it does live up to that name, Watchmen is a fantastic book. You have a comic book within a comic book with the Black Freighter. You have the comic book itself, and then you have some prose in between that fills in the backstory of the Minutemen. I love that book. I reread it at least once a year. It's probably time for me to break that baby out again and take a look. But when I started first getting into comics, I think it was the first book that, for me, made me realize what you can do with the medium. Where it wasn't just words with pictures, it was being immersive like that, telling a story 3 different ways, but also what you can do in 12 issues, I believe. So, yes. And also in the format of 9 panel grids. So, fantastic. It's a nice work of art that when you see in those lists, best of, or like the greatest comic books of all time, it deserves to be on that list. So, Alex, what do you think? Classic book.
What did I call it earlier? Not classic.
I don't know,
top notch.
No, something else. There's something that made it easier for me
staple,
to. There you go. A staple book that you should be reading. I I would actually probably say All-Star Superman. No. Yeah. That's the right name, right? Grant Morrison?
Yeah, Grant
All-Star?
Morrison.
For some reason, that didn't seem right after I said it. All-Star Superman.
Frank Whiteley?
Yeah, that 12-issue run of a book that I had read one time, and I was like, okay, it's good. But this isn't the Superman I know. And as I've matured as a reader, that is a book that probably every other year I visit just to remind myself almost how great Superman is as a character. And it's not even like it's a normal, he's going up against Lex. Lex shows up, or Parasite shows up, or gives Lois the opportunity to be a super. But it's just to see how sacrificing Superman is. This book is amazing. And that Frank Whiteley art is spectacular, along with Grant Morrison, who is one of those writers that, for me, can be hit or miss. He either writes way too weird that I don't understand, until you get to the last issue, like, oh man, that's what everything was. Or, much like you guys always talk about multiversity, an amazing writer who understands sometimes weird things are weird, and he's the best guy to take it. That'd be a good, It's Cold Outside, baby, read this book.
That's a book that I was going to pick, but I pick it too much, so I figured
I took it for you.
I figured somebody would. But it is fantastic. That is a book who, like Alex said, I don't think if you want to read Superman for the first time, it's probably not the best to dip into. But if you read a couple Superman stories and you really do enjoy the character, or even think you're not sure what to think of the character, I think All-Star Superman will let you know what the character is truly about. So, Garrett, what do you think? Staple? Classic?
I'm going to go with Batman The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. So Dark Knight Returns, I was almost going to pick year one, but I was thinking about it generational wise. When Dark Knight Returns came out, it really changed how everything was done with Batman. I mean, it wasn't as dark and serious as it is today. It was a little more lighthearted. And yes, there were some troubling things, and obviously Batman's origins were still the same, but it didn't really dive into the full darkness of Gotham until Dark Knight Returns came out. And when you have this future book kind of telling you how that world's past is, well, now every writer wanted to write in Frank Miller's Gotham universe. So it just made it this more dark, gritty universe, and it just made you realize how much you love Batman. It really does play back to how he's obsessed with Batman. How he was able to take 10 years away from being the Bat, and then he just gets sucked back into it like a drug. He obviously has a lot of self-control, but it's one of the best Batman books ever. The animated movie that's based on that book, I watch all the time because it's just so good. I definitely recommend it for everybody.
Well, I would almost give this book the lead up to what Batman vs Superman was.
Right.
Because what a way to carry Superman from almost selling out, working for the government, and Bruce is like, what a douche move. Right. Why would you do that? That's not what we stood for. And when Superman comes down to duke a fight with Bats gives him all he's got.
Right.
And that's a good choice. That is not a choice that I can personally pick. I've read it once. It's good. But that is a great book.
I won't spoil something that happens at the end, because since we're recommending this for people to read, but there's a moment at the ending that a certain character is over somebody's grave, and he hears something and he smiles, and I think that's the best part of that book. So
that's awesome.
The next category, and I'll go first, that way you guys can think of one for you, but best completed series. So if you want to read something, maybe you're going to be stuck indoors for 3 days, who knows, a blizzard might happen, and you want to read something complete. So as long as the story is done, it didn't get rebooted or then start again after 10 years, like Umbrella Academy is right now, it's starting up again. So what I was going to go with, and I don't mean to go, three of our choices were DC already. I'm going to go back to DC just because it's something I enjoy. I do have some Marvel picks in here, some other picks, but completed series I would say is Gotham Central from Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker. Also art from Michael Lark and some others. For me, that is the best book to read back to back, because each collected volume, I feel like it's very serialized, so you need to be reading that thing completed to get the full story, especially with Renee's story arc throughout it. And it's just a fantastic book overall in terms of, introduce you to Greg Rucka, Ed Brubaker, and Michael Lark, who are three of the greatest workers today in terms of writers and artists. And so it's a nice little completed series, not only with characters that you're familiar with, so you can see a different side of Gotham, but also a different type of storytelling, which it isn't always about action. In that story, there's a lot of good character work with Renee. And so I would recommend it. It's 3 volumes, right?
4.
4 volumes.
40 issues long.
Oh, yeah, I have all 4 of them over there. One of them just looks different. I forgot. 3 of them look the same. One of them looks different. It bothers me. But they're all over there. And so if you get that, it is fantastic. By the way, also, before I move on to Alex here, my son was watching a video on YouTube. By the way, all these videos on YouTube. People playing with toys. A lot of superheroes. A lot of mixing of the universes here. I don't think it's canon. But Riddler showed up in one, and they were like, Riddler, he's very goofy, and he likes to play jokes or likes to have fun or something like that. And I was like, I don't think I would describe Riddler with that.
That's wrong.
No, I mean, even if, like they were talking about, even if it's not correct for that character, but I don't think any character in Batman universe just wants to have fun. I'm pretty sure they are criminals. So it is also a kid thing he was watching. But.
What's the shit? There was someone who wants to have fun, but she wants to do like speedy things. I don't remember what her name was. It wasn't Rocketeer, but it was. She's from Volume 4, but you haven't gotten to Volume 4 of animated series. Thrill Ride, Thriller. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Alex completed series. The whole thing's out right now. They can read it. If they couldn't get out of their house, maybe they jump on Comixology, they download the whole thing. Or if they have a chance before the polar vortex hits, they should go get this whole thing. What do you think?
You know what? This one, if this is a series that I always talk about, and it's almost not enough anymore. It's 150 issues long. Fables is a complete book that has come out. It is literally about Fable characters. What happens when they lose their home, have to move to a big city or a part of a big city that is, I'm just going to spoil that a little bit. They are in New York, but it's a different part of New York. This book is amazing. Do you want to see Little Red Riding Hood? Do you want to see Big Bad Wolf? Do you want to see Belle and Beast and Snow White? You got it in this book. This book is, I wouldn't say for kids because there's some mature things that have happened in this series. But if you are by yourself for 3 days stuck in your house, you can read 50 issues a day. Papa knows. I've done it.
Also, if you are a fan of that show that used been on ABC, Once Upon a Time, it's similar. I would say that Once Upon a Time, you could even make the case ripped off of Fables. So,
what I've seen of Once Upon a Time is not nearly as good as Fables is. Fables is
the
spectacular.
general concept is the same.
The idea of them living somewhere else other than Fabletown.
Correct. Garrett across from me here, complete series. This whole thing is out, and they can read it from beginning to end and see a whole story.
Be Why the Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan. I can't remember who did the art right now.
It starts with a Y.
Yeah, it's right there.
Pia Guerra.
It doesn't start with a Y.
You know, that is a book.
The guy's name is Yannick. That's right.
That is a book that I bring up because I love it so much, and I did binge read the crap out of it. I think I got, I think there's 10 mini volumes. I don't have the library editions. I remember just, I go camping and we go on a boat, and I remember just reading those.
Wait, you read on a boat?
I about had a stroke.
That is in. Well, first off, I know Alex doesn't like that because it could fall in the water,
right?
And there's a lot of wet things, but. You don't get sick reading on a boat?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, not when if it was moving and I was trying to read that, it might be different.
Well, that's what I expected. I expected the.
I thought you were like.
I mean like when you're fishing, you're not moving. So
how can you fish and read at the same time?
I'm not fishing. I'm on the boat where other people are fishing and I'm reading.
Garrett's just cracking a few ones, reading some Why the Last Man, seeing what happens when the apocalypse comes. So
right.
For the record, that is an amazing choice.
Oh God, it is so addicting. There's so many mysteries. There's so many one-shots. Like I think of the Rockin' Man one-shot in there.
Spoilers, Marvin.
Sorry, spoilers, because you've only read the first issue or whatever. I'm just kidding. First volume, yeah. But by the end, it's just so bittersweet, and you're like, oh my God, did I just read all of this that happened? It's one of the best series I've ever read, and I recommend it because you don't need to know anything else. Just read issue 1, and you can read the whole thing. And that's all you need to know.
That is the one thing about Vertigo that I've loved is that there's other books that I've read. Sweet Tooth, I haven't started Scalped yet. all these books I always hear such great things about. Back when Vertigo was on Prime. Same with Fables. Fables is a Vertigo book. Great stuff. I love your choice is amazing, Garrett.
Next up here is the category, and what I'm going to say it, and then I'll explain what it means. Never the Bride, always a bridesmaid. This is going to be a series. I don't like to use the term hidden gem because it makes it sound like only you know about this, which doesn't have to be a book that only like you read, but a book that maybe you normally don't see on a top 10 list, like a book that needs more eyes on it. And what I mean with that is, so my pick here is Warren Ellis's arc of Secret Avengers from Marvel. Was a great arc of 5 or 6 issues. It's collected in a volume. I look for Warren Ellis's Secret Empire, but each issue had a different artist, and each issue is just a one-shot mission. It's a fantastic little run if you want to read something quick and see a bunch of different art styles. Jamie McLevick, Michael Lark. Who else do we have in there? I forget. But it's definitely 6 great artists that show off what you can do with the medium. One whole issue is also like in widescreen mode where you read it from what they mean by that is you don't read it. You turn the book to landscape mode basically and you read it the whole way like that. It's fantastic. Each issue is, like I said, a one-shot. The team is like Beast, Moon Knight, Captain America,
Black
Widow, Shang-Chi. Who else? There's one more person.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I used to have it up here, so I thought I could pull it. Oh, here it is.
Not on the cover.
No, because I took the cover off. That's why. And here we go. Sharon Carter. So it's nice that they are on the team. So it's a fantastic book. I really enjoy it. It is a book that if somebody were to say they love or they want to get into Marvel, but they're not sure where, these are nice one-shots that they can read this. Here we go. Jamie McLevin, I already said that already, with Matt Wilson on colors. Kev Walker with Frank Martin on colors. David Aja with Raul Allen on colors. Michael Lark with Stefano Ganoli on colors. Alex Maleev and Stuart Eminem. So
that's all good stuff right there.
Yeah, so there's some great artists doing one-shot mission stories, and it's very fun and very light. But I've never seen it on a list being like, hey, you should read this if you like Marvel. And I know people, if I talk to people who read comics, sometimes they'll bring it up, but I've never seen it like on the mainstream. People be like, you should read this. It's one of your books. So, Alex, what do you think? You could go in any avenue you want to. But something maybe you don't see. I know it's going to be harder for you than it is me and Garrett, because me and Garrett read a lot of this list and are online all the time, and you are old man Alex.
For the record, my job provides where I can't sit and do nothing all day.
Hey, mine either.
Whoa.
Burn.
Wow, that is some bullshit.
Burn.
I mean, we get breaks. Sorry that the government pays for your breaks.
That's right.
Unless you work at where you work.
I'd actually probably say Moon Knight by Warren Ellis with... Who was the artist of that book? It was a 6-issue run that he was on, and every issue was a different set of... I don't remember what it was he was going through. But there's this 6-issue run was amazing. You have one issue that is all in a apartment building. I believe it was issue 4. Kind of reminded me of The Raid, the movie that we enjoy, where Moon Knight is just fighting through a hallway and beating the crap out of everybody. You get one where...
Declan Shelby was the artist.
Oh. God, that was good.
To answer your question, each issue is like a different one of his personalities. Since he has multiple personalities, he's like a different personality.
Okay. I didn't know if his personality, if it was almost felt like stages of grieving type of thing, or denial or bargaining. This book was amazing. It was only was it 6 or 7?
Issues?
I'm pretty sure it was only 6.
1 through 6.
Okay. This is one of those, I'm going to use the words hidden gem. I never hear anybody talk about it other than Marvin and myself, because Garrett, I don't believe you had read this one.
I read the first, was it only 6 issues?
It was only 6 issues.
Yeah, I read it.
Okay. I that actually made me love Moon Knight, is to see this character and to see how he could just kind of function. Because I had never seen him in anything else. I've never really read him in anything. I've read that bits and pieces of that Secret Avengers that Marvin had mentioned, but this was just a sole focus on this character. And it was one of those nice introductory for me. And same with Warren Ellis. I hadn't read anything really from him. It actually painted him in a good light. That's why I had gotten Injection, why I've read some of these other things that he had put out. He's one of those writers for me that's a hit and miss. This was a hit. Sunk my battleship.
For me, I would say Mech Cadet U, written by Greg Pak and art by Hiro Miyataki, I think his last name is. That it's literally is the most stereotypical book about a boy who finds a robot. I mean, it's literally the Iron Giant, except 5 or 6 kids each get their own robot, you know? So
Power Rangers?
Yeah, I kind of think more of Voltron. I mean, like, they get their own robots. They're training to fight aliens that come invade Earth every now and again. So it's a mixed Pacific Rim with Voltron, with all these your typical robot human stories where they bond, you know. And I think of it more of like, you know, I started reading it, like I was like, the concept looked good, and then it just kept getting better and better and better. There was this whole expansive universe that just came out of it that by the end I was just like, God, I really wish it wasn't over because it's just so good, and I think more people should give it a try.
Was that 12 issues?
12-issue run. I mean, when it ends, it does end kind of it does definitely end on a conclusion that you don't need to tell more stories, but man, that universe was just really fun. The art looked amazing with those kind of like soft, kind of those Easter palette colors almost for the robots and everything.
Pastels almost.
Yeah, the pastels, and the characters themselves, like each one was really unique and it was a blast to read. So I think if you have like younger people or people that like Transformers or Pacific Rim or you're into robots, definitely a book to check out.
The next category is called, actually, I'm just going to phrase it this way. The best book for somebody to read that's never read a comic book. What I mean by that is that it's going to teach them how the medium works. And it's necessarily not that hard to read in terms of panel work. So, for instance, my choice is going to be Criminal, the first story by Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker. It's very simple panels. It's a very straightforward story. It's not going to try to confuse you and work with the medium. It may not show you exactly what the medium can do, but it will be a simple, straightforward enough story that you can get through it. And then if you enjoy that, you can start getting more into comics. So whereas Alex's pick before the All-Star Superman, I wouldn't dip my toe into it right away. This is the opposite. Basically, this one you can jump right in. Then there's more Criminal there, and then I would say anything from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips you can read. So, not that that's my choice. You guys can pick something from those two if you want to, but the first volume of Criminal. Speaking of which, book club, we'll talk about that at the end of the show. We are going to be reviewing it in April. So, Alex, what do you think? Somebody brand new, they say, hey, thinking about getting into comics, you're like, hey, read this. I think this will help you jump in.
Man, that is a tough order to have, because the book that had jumped out at me was going to be Marvel's Vision by Tom King and Walta, because that book really does kind of it's not necessarily it is superhero related, but it's really not. It's about Vision wanting to have just a life and have a family and to not. I think I'm going to go with that book. I think I'm going to go with Vision number 10.
I mean, I don't remember there's much panel work that's confusing, and it is a pretty straightforward story. I don't mean simple story. I just mean that it doesn't jump all over the place.
But that's the thing, is I want to have a book that at least when you talk about Brubaker, the way he makes it where every left side of or when you do the word bubbles, or not even like the speech bubbles, but the thought bubbles, they're always on the top left. They're in an order that makes sense on to read them. I was also thinking of like a Sorrentino book, like Old Man Logan.
What?
Where at least when the pictures are ridiculous, but at least I know how to read the book. But then I thought, the pictures are ridiculous. They're great, but they're just, if you're not paying attention, you're kind of all over the place. So I think Vision would be one of the better options, because they've even thought about giving it to my sister, who isn't an avid comic book reader. Actually, probably gives two craps about comic books, but the story in itself is great, and the art is. Oh man, I wish Walter was on more things when he's doing Doctor Strange for those 3 issues. It was amazing.
Right.
But I wanted to go with a book that at least you're not focused on something being a superhero, you're actually just getting a book that is about almost relatively real life things, even though they're not.
Garrett, what do you think?
For me, it'd be Walking Dead. It's very simple, very grid-like reading. There's a lot of blank space in the backgrounds, because there's not. I mean, there is a lot of detail with the art, but it's not like too much. It's not over into your face. It's easy to read. It's so linear. There is, I would say, I binge read through the first 100 issues with those compendiums, like rather quickly. And it was a fun read. I understood everything. Nothing was confusing to me. So I think that's a really great book. And, plus there's a lot of fandom behind it. So a lot of people that are like, oh, what's a good book to read? I would say, the first 100 issues or so of Walking Dead. I mean, eventually, sorry, it does kind of dovetail off. But I think as a collection, it's nice to read and it's very simple to read.
The very last one's going to be more of a straightforward category. There are some parameters I will give, but the best new series, if somebody wants to get into a new series, whether or not you're a veteran comic reader or a new comic reader, if it has to be within 5 issues, so only 5 or less issues come out, because it's very easy to catch up, because at least like the very first trade should be coming out or is out. So
it has to be from this year?
No, whenever.
Oh.
I mean, technically, it almost
it would have to be unless
in the last 5 months.
Not true, I guess. The Goddamn from Jason Aaron, I think only 4 of those came out so far. But
No,
then again,
there were 5, but that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, they're 5, but who knows when 6 is coming? So, something basically that's 5 issues or less that somebody could get into, and if they want to start reading a monthly book, necessarily doesn't have to be 5 issues completed yet, but just within 5. So, my choice, and I know
I still don't get the parameters. So you're saying a new series. But you guys were talking about a series that came out 2 years ago.
He was making a joke that only 5 issues had come out, or at that time 4 issues had only come out. It could count.
Jason Aaron said he'll be back with book 2, and it's been 2 years, so probably not. But my pick was going to be Die, new series from Karen Gillan, art by who was it? I just had pulled up. But Karen Gillan's new series with a group of individuals who go to play tabletop RPG game. Turns out the game is more real than they thought, and after being stuck in the game for a little bit, they come back. One person did come back with them. One person's missing an arm, and years later they are forced back into the game. That's all I'll say, but I'll say if you like anything fantasy, or I would even say like a fantasy Goonies kind of thing, it feels like, but it's very, very great so far. At least the art's fantastic, but also I feel like the story has a grand adventure kind of feel to it. So Die from Image Comics. It's 3 issues in so far. So
excellent choice, by the way. And that was the first thing that popped in my head, but I came up with it.
I did look. I found at least 3, so you guys wouldn't be, because I saw Die and I was like, I know it possibly is going to be a choice for me too, and I didn't want to take somebody's choice. So there's 2 other good ones too. Go ahead.
So my choice is Middle West by Scotty Young, and art by, is it Jorge or George? Jorge Corona.
Corona.
This was one of those books that I had seen on the list for me to get, and I am a fairly big fan of Scotty Young. Read I Hate Fairyland. I love his Deadpool and I'm Behind. This is one of those books I stay caught up as much as I can, because this book reads great, looks great. The concept is fun. And this book is just kind of all over the spectrum, where you've got serious notes, family things going on, or you've got mystical things that show up. This book is not necessarily kid friendly, I suppose, but it is one of those books to get into if you're looking for something that maybe isn't superhero related, or doesn't necessarily need to take itself too seriously, because nothing really matters, kind of thing. If that makes sense.
What is it called again? Middlesex?
Middle West.
Oh.
Middle West.
There's a book called Middlesex. So I thought that was it.
No.
Go ahead, Garrett.
I would say Farmhand by Rob Gilroy. So that book, went into it not thinking it was going to be a great story, but got addicted super quick. The art's amazing. The story just sucks you in, and it does feel kind of like Goosebumps. It's like its own universe. There's its own rules to that universe. And I think Ollie just could read it. I mean, it's definitely dark humor. So it's like, I mean, it's like watching SpongeBob.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, kids can watch it, but in the background, they're making dick jokes and things like that. So I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for the next issue. And I think anybody could jump on that book and enjoy it as their first one.
5 issues out so far. The next one's come out in March, so it'll give you some time. March 20th, it looks like, and the trade also just came out last month. Actually, a couple weeks ago. Not a couple weeks ago. Exactly almost a month ago. So, good choice. Farmhand Some nice picks there for you. That should be at least 15 books and more probably with this completed series and the classics that you can go back and read, especially Alex's complete series. You're going to be there for a while.
Like I said, you got 3 days off. You can read 50 books a day.
You read 50 books a day and get past that. But that's a nice little collection of books that you can read for that time when you can't go outside, which should be for a while here. Hey, the weatherman told me to my right here that we might be getting warm weather soon. But
you know what?
Warmer weather?
Warmer.
I know.
You forgot the ER at the end of it.
I know
warmer.
At least for the next 2 weeks, the temperatures are below normal.
You are going to want to get your winter coat out. You're going to be wearing it in your house. Probably wear your stocking hat over your face.
You know, normally right now, so we're in South Dakota. Normally right now, the normal temperatures usually are low 20s, and the high is usually mid 30s, which I would kill for right now. Mm-hmm. But right now outside, I would imagine it's probably 1 degree, 2 degrees, maybe even lower. With
the wind chill, I'm guessing it's probably -4.
Yeah, well, the wind was pretty hard blowing around.
About 45 miles an hour.
You know what they say, though. Cold today, hot tomorrow.
Nope, they're lying to you then. It's going to be cold today, colder tomorrow.
Hot in July.
Metaphorically.
Hot
I mean, by tomorrow, I mean by July. Wednesday Comics 605 at gmail.com. Send us your picks for those categories. We like to know what everybody else is thinking about. Maybe there's some picks that, especially for those Never Bride, Always a Bridesmaid section that you want to display more. We can talk about that next week. And on Twitter at Wednesday Comics. Alex is at Alex Pastrello, at Garrett2188 for Garrett, and at Marvin_Salguero for me. You can find us on Facebook anytime, facebook.com/Wednesday Comics Podcast. Make sure to like that page and share it with your friends. Venture over to YouTube. You can see this week's Gauntlet was recorded live in studio. It should be up there right now. You go and check that out and see the 6 picks that they picked for this week. More books than we talked about on the show. Some of the books actually too. Make sure you subscribe to the show on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, or Spotify. Your choice. Like I said in the past, there are more avenues to subscribe. Go to WednesdayComics.com. There's some easy buttons to click there, and it'll take you right to the pages to subscribe. Make sure also, if you think somebody else would enjoy the story, we would be eternally grateful if you could share it with them also. So, Garrett, we have a book club.
Wednesday Comics, League of Extraordinary Gentle People, proudly presents.
One of my picks was Criminal Number 1, Volume 1, that is from Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker, colors by Val Staples. That'll be what we are reading. We each quarter read a comic book or collected edition comic, and the first week of the new quarter, we have a show dedicated to reviewing that book, going through the whole thing, a nice little book club. So in case you are looking to get into comics, or even if you are already into comics, it's a nice way to read something and hear about it and, kind of talk about it. You can send us a voicemail, email, or even a text, no, not text, but a tweet. And on Facebook, you can send us a message, and we will include that in the show. The voicemail line, 605-215-1849. Drop us a line. Even if isn't about the book club, if you want to leave one of your choices for that categories, you can certainly do that. RootsOfTheSwampThing.com, your definitive source for all things Swamp Thing. That is RootsOfTheSwampThing.com, at DC World Swampy on Twitter, or Facebook.com/RootsOfTheSwampThing. Holland Files number 3 is out. I'm not sure if it's sold out, but if you go to RootsOfTheSwampThing.com, I'm sure you'll be able to find out, or contact him, like I said, on Twitter or Facebook. Nice show this week. It was a little delayed, but I think in the end it worked out. You know what I actually figured out is, so I've been busy the last couple of weeks. It was nice to just read some comic books. Get back into a couple of worlds, a couple of books to caught up on. And you know what? I'm fully into this digital thing. I love it. Like, read on my phone, came home, read on my iPad. Didn't have to figure out where I was. I remember, picked up right from it.
I never forget, so
no problem. And also, but you're more organized than I am.
You should see my basement. That's not true.
When we used to do print comics, at least 20 minutes of before I would start reading comics was me trying to figure out where they were. So it's nice to them all to be in one place for me. It's played for people like me. Too busy.
Hey, I'm not here. I'm not complaining. There's some certain things like Manhattan Projects. Yeah, I'm reading that online because I'm not going to go find all those issues, at least until I know I enjoyed the book. But it's nice to know, I can just pop my phone open, start reading.
Or if I want to go back and try out some Grass Kings from Matt Kint and Tyler Jenkins, it's right on there. So I'm going to read it and check it out. Who knows? You can find some hidden gems that way and see maybe if they are good for a future book club pick. For Wednesday Comics, my name is Marvin.
I'm Alex.
I'm Garrett.
Hey, everyone. Keep turning those pages.